For many years, the Haliburton Lake Cottage Association has marked the boating hazards and the safe navigation channels on Haliburton Lake. This makes boating far more enjoyable and safer, particularly for our young boaters and visitors. We maintain 21 markers, all just like the ones you see here. We do this entirely using volunteers, so it's important that the markers be easy to handle, especially since we take them out in the fall and put them back in the spring, so we don't lose them to the ice. Another challenge we face is that the water level on Haliburton Lake varies over the boating season by more than a meter. Our design has evolved over the years, and the current ones are easy to put in and take out from a small boat, as well as being quite durable should they get hit. They're easily made from readily available materials and cost only about $60 each. The following video shows how you can make these navigation markers for your own lake. The markers are made out of standard 4-inch PVC sewer pipe and fittings. The pipe comes in 10-foot lengths, and we'll need an assortment of fittings, which I'm showing here. First you'll need some standard end caps on the right, and then you'll need assorted male and female clean-out fittings, and I'll explain later why you need both types. And lastly, you'll need the screw caps, but it's important that you get the screw caps that have the raised square center section because it's far beefier than the other style, and we need the strength for our purposes. The screw caps come with a vinyl washer, which really isn't sufficiently airtight for our purposes, so you have to replace them with O-rings, rubber O-rings. The size is shown on the screen, and it's important that you get the 1/8 size. I've tried larger 3/16 O-rings, but they squish out and don't really work very well. This is the hardware that you'll need for each marker. First, a 12-inch, half-inch diameter eye bolt. It's important that it be 12 inches long. I've tried using shorter ones and they don't work. They don't provide the leverage to make the marker pop up. Then you need washers, 2 steel washers and 2 rubber washers, big enough to fit on your half-inch eye bolt, and then a lock nut. Typically the eye bolts already come with a single nut, but you need a second nut to lock the whole thing onto the top. To hold your marker into place, you'll need to use heavy 1/4-inch galvanized dock chain. I prefer the hot dip galvanized. It seems to last longer than the electro galvanized. Typically this is the chain you would use to anchor your dock. For each chain I have a stainless steel clip. This is a 4-inch one, which makes it easy to take the marker on and off at the end of the season, and to tie the chain to a concrete block, stainless steel chain links. The first step in the assembly is to drill a 1/2-inch hole in the end cap to receive the eye bolt. They're then assembled into the end cap in the following order. Here's the end cap assembled with the 1-foot eye bolt and the nuts and washers all put on in the sequence I showed you, and I put the lock nut on the inside. When I'm assembling this, I actually put a little bit of silicone on the threads hidden inside between the nuts there, just to make sure that the whole thing remains waterproof. Now is the time to cut the 10-foot pipe into 3 sections. 10 feet is 120 inches, so mark it off at 3 40-inch intervals, and saw it with, now I don't have a fancy pipe cutter, so I use an old-fashioned cross-cut saw and just try to keep the cut square. The length, 40 inches, just seems to work out right. I've tried making them longer, but they're too hard to float upright once you install them. So 3 out of a 10-foot length seems to work just fine. Here we are with the 10-foot pipe cut into 3 sections, and where I've cut the pipe, you can see I've cleaned it up with a file to get all the raggedy burrs and edges off so it'll glue together properly. You can also see that I have 2 female clean out fittings and 1 male. The 1 male is to go into the flared end of the pipe. And the other end are just straight end caps. So the next step is to glue them all up using PVC cement. I use a 2-step process, one with the primer and then the glue, because I want to make sure these things are really airtight. Here you can see I've finished gluing. I look for a nice even bead of glue oozing out around the corner to make sure I've got a good watertight seal. The disadvantage of using so much glue, of course, is that it runs out, and it can run into the threads on the inside of the fixture. So be careful when you do glue this joint that you stand it on the ground like that so that the glue runs, any excess glue runs down into the pipe and not onto the threads. Here you can see I've painted the pipe with spray paint, and your choices of course are red, green, for channel markers, or yellow for caution markers. Now, to keep the wind from blowing over, I put a stake in the ground and then spray paint them outside. Again, notice that I don't paint the threads, the mating surface here, so I can get a good seal with the O-ring. Here we are with just a little bit of dish soap. Coat the O-ring. And then put it on the fitting. Now when I tighten it down, it slips easily and doesn't squish out at all. First I tighten it by hand and then finish it off with a strap wrench and a pipe wrench. The big wrenches are merely to get a grip on the thing. You really don't have to tighten it that much at all. That's good. Now we're ready for the final assembly of the marker. First I use a 4-inch stainless steel carabiner. Stainless steel because you want this thing to remain workable throughout the life of the marker, because you'll be using it a lot. Secondly, you want 4-inch so you can get a grip on it. When you're out adjusting these things on the water, you want something that's quite easy to handle. Once that's on, then I attach the dock chain. The dock chain serves as the anchor for the marker. Now, the secret of these markers is that you have to use heavy chain. It's the chain which provides the weight to tip the marker up vertical. So I use 1/4-inch hot galvanized chain. This is what you would use if you're tying up your dock. So here I'm going to test the marker. We're in about 6 feet of water, so I'll throw the chain in. Of course, I've got 10 feet of chain here, so 4 feet of it at least is going to be laying on the bottom and not hanging from the marker. And you can see it floats, but it's not sticking upright the way we want it to. So the solution is to shorten the chain, but you keep the same amount of chain hanging from the marker, because we want the weight. There we are, and there it works. Now on Halliburton Lake, our water level fluctuates throughout the summer, so halfway through the summer I have to go out and adjust the ones that are in shallow water. The last step, of course, is attaching the anchor. I use concrete blocks. You don't need especially big ones. small ones like this will do. And I attach them with a chain link because I don't want these things coming undone underwater. And again, stainless steel because I want it to last for decades. So that's it. So I've used up maybe 2 feet of my chain to loop it around the block. That leaves me 8 feet of chain here to supply the weight necessary to float the marker. Now let's go visit some of the markers in service on Halberton Lake. The water has gone down about ½ a meter since I put this one in, so that much of the chain is resting on the bottom and allowing the marker to tip over. To increase the weight of the chain hanging from the marker, I have to pull up the slack and hang a loop from the 4-inch clip. In some locations, the water is too shallow to permit the length of chain required to tip the marker up. For these, I made up weights made from peanut butter jars filled with concrete. This one has a plated eye bolt, but in my newer ones I use a 4-inch stainless steel eye bolt. Using these weights also eliminates the need to adjust the length of the chain. In the fall, I take the markers out, but leave the anchors in. To make them easier to find in the spring, I mark the location of the anchors with gallon jugs tied to the end of the chains. Sometimes the polypropylene rope is too springy and I have to secure the knot with electrical tape. Electrical tape is waterproof, sticks to itself very well, and lasts the whole winter. I hope this video will encourage other lake associations to maintain navigation markers on their lakes. The materials are all readily available at hardware or building supply stores, and, as you can see, they're easy to make and install. Good luck and safe boating.